Hello and welcome to the next session of DSCI Best Practices Meet 2022. As we know that now fifth generation of telecommunication systems is right at the horizon and a lot of security questions are there in the mind. So that's the specific reason why this session has been designed. It focuses entirely on security issues related to 5G networks. And to discuss the same, I have this stellar panel with me today. I would like to welcome Mr. Ranganath, who's Senior Principal Product Manager for 5G Security at Oracle. And joining Mr. Ranganath is Mr.
Hello.
Dr. Uttam, who's CISO at Intellect Design Arena Limited. And we have Mr. Murugavel Muthu, who's CEO and founder for COSGrid Networks. And our third panelist for today is Mr. Akib Saeed, who's founder at MatrixShell. Over to you, Mr. Ranganath.
Thank you, Manish. Welcome all for this very interesting and I would say very valuable discussion on 5G security. We are getting into very exciting times. Okay, 5G is here and it offers ultra speed, low latency, and very high availability possibilities. So what it means is a huge opportunity for all of us for multiple applications, different automation possibilities, and in general, it will change the way we do the things. With all these opportunities, there comes a risk of security. Okay, and it basically increases a threat surface to a maximum level, wherein like we are integrating applications from different facets. So, having said this, in this discussion, we will touch upon different possibilities and what kind of security readiness we have to have, and um, how do we basically improve on security and maximize the 5G utilities. So, I welcome you all, and maybe we will have initial thoughts from all of us.
Yeah, Ranganath, we can get started.
Yeah, yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So this is Murugavel Muthu. Yeah. So 5G has improved the bar on security, with various, features, right? It is improving on LT in a big way, whether it be, AK authentication, a key hierarchy, right? And then, protection, and, secure communication proxy, which means that all the core function, next generation core functions can talk to each other in a much more secure way. So definitely 5G is much better, more secure, and it is filling a lot of gaps that 4G has left, right? But at the same time, we need to be cognizant of the fact that the attack surface has increased because the distributed and much more huge IoT landscape that is coming in, edge computing, and NFV, SDN, right, and split architecture of RAN and so on. So the attack surface has increased. That is number one. Second, there is going to be a massive IoT that is going to latch onto the network, which is going to be increasing the attack surface. And third is, the in communication infrastructure. There is the communication infrastructure is also, and even more important is that the state actors with high sophisticated tools, once they are very clear about where to attack, when to attack, and especially they can target 5G networks, because 5G is going to become a major utility or tool for day-to-day life, whether it be utilities, running utilities, sports, whatnot, hospitals, pub, and so on, right? So there is a lot of interesting use cases, so the 5G security is getting better. At the same time, attack has also got sophisticated. So today, if you look at the attacks, kind of attacks that today we are facing, it's not a regular run-of-the-mill attack like brute force or older style. It's all about social engineering, right? Creating backdoors, right? And then supply chain attacks, right? So yes, 5G security is, security in 5G is improved a lot, but at the same time, risk also has increased. So we need to deploy the right kind of tools, right, as a processes and so on to secure the network and whatever the whatever the systems that are connected, as we expect the drones to be connected and so on. So that's the initial sort of thoughts that I would like to share. Yeah, over to you.
Yeah, yeah, very well said. I think 5G will be a collection of machines, apart from only the people. Um, Dr. Uttam Kumar, maybe your initial thoughts on this?
Yeah, I basically come from an operator background, and I've largely worked with all the operators and deployed the 5G in Japanese market as well. See, to my mind, 5G is also about the enterprise 5G. It's about IoT, and it's also anyway about the retail. So from enterprise 5G perspective, as you have already seen that India, there were many companies were interested in deploying their enterprise 5G, and one of the main reason was that they wanted to integrate their network, their local network, whatever network they have, with the enterprise 5G network. And the reason behind that was obviously to give you the mobility as well as the speed. Now, when you are bringing 5G network, enterprise 5G network within your organizations, or you're deploying for somebody, customers, it brings in complexity because you have an existing network and you're trying to build or integrate with the enterprise 5G network. This adds the challenges as well as there's a benefit as well as challenges as well, and those needs to be evaluated because we are joining two things, and then when you're handshaking two things, there are a lot of security measures that you need to take care of to ensure that end-to-end things are secure and data privacy protections and the basic things are well in place. And for a lot of people, it's a new learning as well. So because we have been well aware about how to manage the internal network, now overlay of 5G on top of it with eSIMs or SIM cards on the devices or IoT devices and sensors, it adds complexity to the CIOs or the CISO of enterprise. And unless they know about it, what are the challenges that they will face? Because most of the organization will go for it. And I see that a lot of large companies like AWS is going to offer these things on the cloud. HP is offering this in the cloud. Dell is working for it. NTT is working on it. So there's going to be a lot of push that the enterprise 5G could be offered from the cloud environment, and it also offers you the rest as well. So those are things that needs to know, CISO needs to know, and CIO needs to know, and obviously the organization needs to know before they migrate and take decisions on those aspects.
Yeah, thank you. I think probably endpoint security will become another facet of security challenge, apart from core telecom network challenges that we had in past. Akib, how do you see the 5G policies and testing preparedness for the upcoming 5G security challenges? What are your initial thoughts?
Speaking about 5G security is mostly about security most of the time. If you speak about the 5G, 5G there brings a new concept called as a zero trust security. What is a zero trust security means you don't trust your own network or any part of the network. What you do is you do authenticate each and every part of the network, like never trust, always verify. So what exactly zero trust does is it is a strategic approach to a cybersecurity that secures the organization by eliminating implicit trust, okay, and continuously validating at every stage of a digital transaction. Now, how does 5G implement this? Is first, 5G has initial communication. Whenever you do initial communication in 5G at any point of a time, everything is end-to-end encrypted, end-to-end integrity protected, and 5G brings us, HTTP-based communication. 5G uses for internally, 5G uses HTTP2 protocol, and every time you communicate within two 5G network elements, it is entirely end-to-end secure. Now, speaking about this 5G and comparing it with the legacy technology like 2G, 3G, 4G. In this technology 2G 3G we have SS7. So SS7 is completely plain text. Okay, there is no authentication, there is no encryption, no integrity check. However, Diameter came up in 4G. Diameter came up with some more precautions, and as it comes with the precautions, but technically speaking, not a single operator implements it the way it should be implemented. Because if you read out the GSM specification for the Diameter security, it clearly says that no one in 4G uses the Diameter security at all. So what came up with what came up in the 2G, 3G, and 4G? They came up with the external firewalls, and these external firewalls will have additional features. What could be the features? They will have some additional layer of security on SS7, some additional layer of security on Diameter. But if you speak about the 5G, it is zero trust security. Whenever your data is transmitting from one point to another point, it is always going to be encrypted, whether it is a signaling or your user traffic. Now, as we go ahead in the zero trust security, okay, CGPP has specified more like, relevant attack network security features supporting zero trust approach in 3 domains. First one is the network access security, network domain security, and service-based architecture here. Okay. Now, network access security feature provide users with secure access to the services through devices and protect against the attack over the air interface. Now, if you see about the 2G, 3G, and 4G, there used to be an easy way to intercept the private identity such as MC from the using fake MC catcher or fake cell tower. But if you speak about the 5G comes up with the over-the-air encrypted private identity, that is, concealed identity it is called, okay? And it is only able to decrypt after the authentication is completed. So this is there over the air in the 5G. Now, if you see about secure access, so whenever you do any kind of a communication, all the air interface security has some more advanced version of security implemented. Now, network domain security includes the feature that enables nodes to securely exchange signaling data, user data, for example, between core and the radio network. Now, if you see, HTTP, as 5G uses HTTP for the core network signaling, the best part about it is that, you can use SSL certificates to communicate. You can use end-to-end verification in this one. Also, if you see about in 5G, when you use the HTTP certificate, it is communicating between one end to other end. It is entirely secure. Though 5G has the SCP, that is service communication proxy, it is whenever it is passing through that as well, the data is also going to be encrypted. Now, speaking about the next one, network domain security. Network domain security. This enables exchange of signaling and data to be encrypted. Now, as we go ahead with the SBA, it uses a built on web technology and web protocol that enables the flexible and scalable deployment using virtualization, container technologies, cloud-based platform. SBA domain security specifies the mechanism for the secure communication between NF within serving network and with the other domains. Okay. Now, 5G security features. Yes.
Yeah, Akib, I think we will go in detail on core security and core communication topics. Probably we will go ahead with a couple of the application securities that we need to take care. Okay, one would be IoT security, which will be like, see, basically we are getting into Industry 4.0 and it will be totally augmented with lot of IoT devices in different scale and different mediums and different technologies. And how do we connect this massive number of devices to a 5G network, and how do we ensure that these devices securely communicate to each other? And then there is analytics which will bring in insights. How do we ensure that this end-to-end things are secure? That is something which we can develop on. Maybe your initial thoughts, Akib?
Speaking about that, first we should go about what Indian government initiative is about. Okay. Now, first we say that before we deploy any network, any device in the network, we usually do the security testing. So I would like to speak of before that. I would like to speak about the government policies that Indian government has started. Indian government has created a policy that every telecom network being deployed in 2G, in 4G and 5G to be tested under the security. The Indian government formed a National Center of Communication Security. Okay, it initially started with the Professor Balki in IISc, but later on this scheme is given as the NCCS, that is National Center for Communication Security. It is a governing body that actually assures a minimum security for telecom equipment. Okay, it is not only related to the phone, it is not only related to the core network of the 4G and 5G, but it also related to the all our phone, anything that is being deployed in the core network, whether it is IoT, whether it is a phone, or whether it is some kind of a CPE at the customer end. Government invested 17 crore for the infrastructure and another 8.5 crore for the testing tool. And this facility was inaugurated by Honorable Minister of Communications, Sri Manoj Sinha, in 2018. The scheme aims to develop a specific standard for the security. So the scheme also enables development of testing and certification ecosystem. Also ensures the telecom network element meets the security assurance requirement. Also ensure the compliance regulatory requirement. Now, speaking about end-to-end security in 5G, let me tell you one thing. Whenever we use any IoT devices, whether it is a private 5G, a private network, or is a public network, most of the time we use the security between, we use DTLS, we'll use the SSL or some other parameters. But when we speak about when we deploy this in 5G, private network, what we need to do is that we should have some kind of a detection mechanism. We should have some kind of a network monitoring mechanism. This network monitoring will allow us to identify what all issues are there, what is the current status of my network. If some device is behaving rogue, then we can utilize here the artificial intelligence. Using this artificial intelligence, we can actually identify, okay, if some node or if some device is behaving rogue, if some device is behaving with anomalous behavior. This is all we can use here for the IoT security.
Yeah, great.
Uttam here, I'd like to
Yeah, Dr. Uttam. Kumar, please go ahead.
Yeah, see, I think I would actually have a little bit of different view in terms of the IoT and 5G play, because see, majority of the applications in IoT may not require higher bandwidth. Okay, so if only for high bandwidth applications like medical, or where you require a streaming, or you require a video, or you require, I mean, there is a project where you are trying to do a surveillance, and you're trying to detect anomalies, things like that, where it's a high intensity, speed is needed. That's where you will need 5G, right? But in IoT, to do your IoT, you may probably rely on various other networks and topologies which are there. But few specific application can only require 5G, but others will go on as is. I think coming back to this, testing part. Okay, there are, though the government norms are there, that we know that those exist, but still there are a lot of fallbacks in terms of the really tested device, really standard device coming to the market, and we are really deploying that, and that still exists as a challenge, because while the promise from the government side looks obviously satisfactory that people will come in, but the on the ground reality is a bit different, because there are still non-standard devices which are not tested, devices which come in without standards, and they get deployed because of cost parameters and many other parameters. So the issues exist, and they are currently deployed. I come to kind of I went through a lot of articles where during Russia and the Ukraine war, they're trying to hack the cameras, and they're trying to detect those. So because of non-standard, now you can understand how sensitive it becomes. So if you're having a camera with 5G, and it's being used for some communication purpose, and it is being used for cross-border terrorism monitoring, and it's being hacked, what is the situation that we are in? So we need to design such things with obviously zero fault, and absolutely keeping in mind that these are 100% secure. But there is no 100% security, we all know, right? We are all trying to do it best, but it cannot be 100%. There will still be problems which will exist, and there will be still unknowns. So I would say that the 5G security, though we know what we know is reasonably good, but there are a lot of areas because of which the complications are increasing. And we talked about enterprise, we talked about IoT, we talked about the real-time streaming applications not being safe, the end user applications and devices not being tuned to provide these things. So security has to be looked at whole composite. It cannot be looked at in pieces. So when you look at the composite picture, there are still a lot of gaps, and there are still ways that network perspective, maybe from radio frequency
Please
perspective,
go ahead.
it may be from other perspective as well, right? So a lot of areas still requires improvement and thinking. And I would say the application domain, the device domain, the equipment domain itself, because whatever we deploy in 5G, they come from some equipment providers, like it comes from Nokia, NTT, or any guys. Or there's a concept of network slicing, for example. There is some containerization which is happening. How secure is that? Because your overall security posture of 5G depends on how that software stack that you deploy for 5G is secure. Is that is that something vulnerable? Is that foolproof? Because that's the basic question that we are going to ensure. If that is foolproof, then only the rest of things are foolproof. So underlying question is the network layer where the network frequencies are being transmitted, is that 100% foolproof? Is the network equipment that we're using, is it foolproof? Is the MEC or any of the converged equipments that we're using, which is converging an enterprise network to the 5G network, is that foolproof? Is it tested? The short answer is it is still evolving. It has not reached to the maturity level that we should look at. And the CISO or the CIO still needs to do a lot of work and automation to ensure that this is completed on time, right? So this is where my thoughts are, and I would look at Murugavel to kind of comment on
Yeah,
this.
I think we need to little bit keep up the timing, anyway. So okay, so I'll just have add few more points that our fellow panelists think. Okay, first of all, the security is a moving target, right? I mean, today is a pattern of zero-day attack, right? Even zero trust, may not hold true, because you can compromise. If you look at the recent attacks that are happening, right? The leading companies, zero trust itself can be compromised, right? So the one thing with IoT devices getting deployed in a big way, and sophisticated attacks, the only way, I think, which I add up onto Dr. Uttam and Akib is saying that we need to have a solid anomaly detection, network monitoring, anomaly system, right? And that's the way, today, if any crime happens, using CCTV, they're able to capture within few hours, right? So that is the going to be the only key thing where we are going to continuously monitor, because today, however 5G can be secure, you can compromise through social engineering, supply chain attack through supply chain, and the only only final tool that we have is network anomaly detection, what they call network detection response, right? So there should be a security orchestrator which is able to, in a centralized way, can monitor the traffic from multiple sources and do whatever the ML supervision, supervise, B packet inspection, or whatever, right? Possible techniques available, right? And then showcase the alert and do a mitigation. So that's going to be the one of the key solution, I would say, that is going to help in the 5G.
Yeah, definitely. I think 5G brings in lot of device security regulations, and I think consolidated security approach will be the mantra going ahead, because that is the way we can actually control the outreach of 5G in a right way and utilize the maximum benefits from it. So moving forward, one more use case of 5G is 5G enterprise private networks. Basically, I understand that Dr. Uttam Kumar has worked with operators on this topic. Maybe your thoughts about this.
Sorry, can you come again, please?
Yeah, this is about enterprise 5G private networks.
Yeah.
Okay, what kind of security challenges do you foresee in this?
Yeah, I mean, okay, for private 5G, the only thing is that because private 5G is typically expected to be deployed within a physical, thing. The attack surface is less because the UPF, whatever user plane function, and some of those network functions are deployed closer to the users, right? So definitely some of the attacks, like man in the middle attack, all those things are definitely reduced, right? But then today you see two kind of private 5G. One is standalone, right, which is not integrated at all, but still you have internet. Today, even IoT devices need internet to okay, that is one thing. Second is that integrated, to the public network, right? See, in whatever be the case, as I told you, I mean, today the attack surface, the attack techniques, tactics and techniques have evolved in a different level, right? It is not the man in the middle attack or something, right? So it could be supply chain attack, or it could be like social phishing, or sim compromise, right? Rogue base station, right? You can put a rogue base station near to the private 5G, and then we are talking about IMSI catching, right? Today, a lot of because we are not talking about 100% standalone deployment. It could be non-standard deployment also. So IMSI catching is still possible. So
Yes.
put simply, the attack surface is reduced. It's likely to be private 5G are likely to be more secure compared to the public 5G. But then people have to be, the deployment has to be continuously monitored, right? They call today in zero trust, they talk about CDM, continuous diagnostics and monitoring, right? That has to be there with, look out for the anomaly. That is what I would say.
Yeah.
I would like to add that it's very important that the CISO, the CIO should know which option they should take, because when you're looking for deploying a enterprise 5G, it offers comes with various flavors. Like it can be cloud based, it could be completely within your enterprise, but however it will has to integrate. So depending on your business requirement and the risk appetite, right, and what is the business need, obviously you should be able to take the decision and should not just rely on the partner or vendor pushing a solution. And that's very important, that you should know what risk you're getting into it and what are the reasons behind why you're going for enterprise 5G. And that knowledge is very essential before you make a decision. Otherwise, it will lead into a situation where you make an investment and you're stuck on the same place where you were earlier, and it's not really adding any value to it. So some of these Japanese network, Japanese companies, they do provide their deploying, they have deployed enterprise 5G network, and they are purely in a different fashions. They are not on the cloud based. They are containerized to their own environment, and it's because they are in manufacturing. Most of them are doing their own manufacturing, and they want the data to remain themselves. Still, they require mobility. So depends really in terms of what kind of requirement that you're trying to drive, and what's the real business needs that you have. Probably in India, if it's a manufacturing company, the solutioning will be totally different compared to a companies which is kind of Cisco, or maybe an IT company. The solution will be totally different. So it has to be really thought through. But yes, enterprise 5G is a good business case and use case. I would add one more point, which is called 5G also offers network slicing, right? And you may also evaluate network slicing while you're looking for enterprise 5G together. So if you can have a solution from network slicing, which operator can offer to you, that could also be a solution as well. So those are things that CISOs or CIO must evaluate before they jump onto the solutions and deployments.
I would like to say something about the practical experiences we have. See, even today, when we do the telecom network penetration testing, we found that we are still able to reach core network element or the intermediary network element or routers just by browsing the user data traffic. So routing and implementation, the traffic routing is the most important part to be considered whenever you're deploying the private 5G. There should be some kind of sectorization or containerization or segmentation, rather this should be the correct word, for each and every network element or each and every department, so that no one can jump across the different network elements, so that they can reach out to the different devices and perform some malicious activities. That should be the one of the points to be considered here.
Yeah, absolutely. Perimeter security is a very, very important security aspect in 5G. And when we discuss about perimeter security, I think the tool that we are going to use is zero trust model, basically zero trust security at every level. Okay, whether it's at a RAN level, core level, or applications, or IoT, or enterprise network, or any of the sub 5G networks wherein like we are connecting. So, what are your thoughts? Means like, how do we deploy zero trust at different levels?
See, one thing you have to see about deploying the zero trust is in the sense of that, let's take an example, the packet is coming from the RAN or packet is going towards the RAN. There should be authentication. Now, let me tell you one thing. We have different, in 5G, we have different network elements which do only, some of them which do only signaling and some of them do only data, like UPF. So there should be some kind of a, segmentation between the network elements, such as, let's take an example, we have database related applications such as say UDM or UDR or AUSF. This should be in the same network. Then we have the network element which are responsible for some different purposes like AMF, SMF. This should be in a different network element. And whenever we are doing any kind of a communication, there should be a PKI based certificate issuance. You shouldn't accept any any unauthorized or unsigned certificates in the network. Another point is that, let's take an example, if we are implementing the NRF, the NRF should only allow the OAuth based token, so that there should be some kind of security to be ensured. If you speak about most of the open source 5G core, which are there like Open 5G or Free 5GC or the Open Air interface for 5G core, they are not implementing the OAuth-based authentication. So using them or building something based on them without OAuth authentication will not give the security assurance in the 5G. So OAuth is one of the way. Another point is that the network element segmentation is another way. Next point is that service communication proxy is another way to implement the the zero trust security.
Yeah, probably we will be heading towards a service mesh architecture, which will enable us easily for a zero trust security. Any
Yeah.
particular use cases,
Yeah,
Murugavel,
yeah,
you would
yeah.
like?
Just to add to the zero trust is a very big topic to discuss, right? Zero trust also have a different flavors to it, right? Zero trust by because whatever zero trust that we are deploying enterprise, if you try to deploy it to service provider networks, okay, it will not scale. It doesn't work, right? So zero trust by segmentation, micro segmentation is the way to go. That is one thing I want to add because when I say zero trust, there are multiple flavors and models available, right? So zero trust by segmentation because users are not involved actually, right? Because so it's not like MFA plus context user context, no. So it's my zero trust by micro segmentation. That is one thing. Second, just to touch upon what Akib was saying is that, and you were talking about the perimeter, right? So one of the most important aspect of IoT and 5G and so on is the most important is the availability more than the confidentiality. Like in a typical enterprise networks, we are bothered about this confidential data, but in 5G we are more worried about whether the system is available, right? So what the attackers that try to do, they try to, whether it be 5G, private 5G or regular 5G, they try to bring the service down by DDoS attacks, right? So a solid perimeter through next generation firewall with a solid DDoS is one important thing. And second, another aspect is that typically the confidentiality of privacy due to unencrypted traffic of the user plane to that N6 interface is optional, right? So if the organizations are very serious about the confidentiality privacy, they should use IPsec tunnel. So these are the few points that I'd like to add, and then
Yes, great. Yeah, so how is it handled in enterprise networks, Dr. Kumar?
See, I think it has to be, as I said, be designed end to end, right? And a lot of basic principles of security remains the same. So you need to monitor your internal traffic, external traffic, but deploying packet level monitoring becomes kind of very complex because you always have a trade-off in terms of how much security versus how much speed and how much investment. So basically it's a trade-off, right? So the investment and the speed and the monitoring and how many manpowers and teams that you can deploy becomes a challenge. So ideally, the same standard needs to be followed, of the same security standards, but obviously, zero trust achieving it's still a target. So implementing a full zero trust is still a way to go for an enterprise network. I would say that everybody is achieving and trying to achieve that, and there is still miles to go. But yes, the high-level NGN firewalls has to be there. The deep packet filtering, possibly, if the enterprise can afford, they should implement it, and the traffic monitoring. And I would say that one of the threat hunting capabilities they should be able to not just SIM or SOR. They should always invest into threat hunting capabilities so that they're able to hunt the threats and identify the real targets that get into it.
Yeah, fantastic. So basically, 5G brings in a lot of responsibility, not only to the operator, not only to the enterprises which are running. It brings in responsibility to every end user who would like to utilize this. Okay, it can be as simple as a security camera that I am using. It is probably my responsibility to ensure that I buy a product which has all kind of compliances and a lot of things. Probably it is a new business opportunity wherein like somebody will assure that we are buying the right equipments from the right security hardening possibilities. So now for the 5G security, another essential item is AI based testing tools. Okay, without a proper testing tool, we cannot ensure security at all these multiple or huge magnitude of applications. So what do you think? How are we evolving with respect to security testing for 5G use cases?
Speaking about this 5G security testing, you see, 5G has to be tested at all aspects, whether it is a
Yes.
core network, whether it is a RAN, whether it is a user equipment. Okay. Now 3GPP has given some guidelines to do to minimal assurance of the network element. Like 3GPP has given the security specification for the network element of 5G and 4G. Like I said previously, Indian government is actively developing the Indian specific specification for minimum security for any network element before they getting deployed in the network. Now, in the last meeting, the government agency said that they are defining the timeline for each and every telecom specific equipment. Not only 5G, I'm talking about. They are talking about every telecom network. They are defining the timeline. By this time, the test has to be completed by the vendor, and once these are completed, then they are allowed to be implemented. Initially, this was a non-comply. Even in the license Indian government is issuing for the telecom operators, they are making it mandatory for any vendor who's deploying any network element inside the telecom network. This has to be there. Now, speaking about, let's take an example. We want to do a testing in the core network, whether we want to do a testing in a RAN network. There has to be some custom applications has to be developed, whether it is based on AI or without AI. But speaking about the AI could give us much more, advanced capability. AI could give us much more additional features, or some kind of automation or detection, also the detection of some kind of anomaly. This is there. So in MatrixShell, we are actually working on some of those tools as well already, and we have got quite a lot of good success in it.
Oh, great.
Yeah, just to add to Akib, as is rightly said, there are a lot of tools, a lot of processes. These are happening, but IoT devices, you don't have any control. Any consumer, any there is certified, only certified IoT devices to be connected, hooked on to the 5G network. No one can control, right? So, and the near future, IoT devices are expected to be unsecure in a big way. I think so they are going to be unencrypted, highly vulnerable, right? So that is problem has to be there. We have to handle it. Only thing at the network level, how do we handle it, or the network elements? I mean, definitely that has to be, as he pointed out, it will be certified. All those aspects will be involved. Yeah, please.
Yeah. Yeah. Dr. Kumar, any final thoughts on this?
No, I think with the enterprise 5G, and there are a lot of regulatory requirements as well, right? As I think Akib pointed out, that government also, so somebody is actually is acquiring the enterprise 5G license, needs to comply to regulatory requirements which comes from the DOT, and those requirements specify the security requirements and should be implemented thoroughly without a second part. So those are just the baseline, and once you look at doing something more and beyond those baselines specified with DOT, because
No.
that baseline is something just a guiding principle. But obviously, when we are looking at security, it needs to be much more than what has been prescribed by the government.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, I think the multitude of 5G security challenges are making us basically more open in terms of software transparency, sharing the information, sharing the data, hardening at different interfaces, communication interface, and probably with network slicing kind of technology, we will have a dedicated resources for applications, and probably we have much more improved QoS and other things. um, Having said all these things, the security is also bringing in cost or to the implementation, cost to the organizations in terms of exposing their software. Like for example, as I said, software transparency is a buzzword. Okay, which is like basically I would like to know what I'm getting. Is this is what customer want, but there will be a proprietary topics wherein like software transparency may not be so that easily implemented, and it can be used in other way. So 5G security is a very very vast topic, very interesting topic, and it has multiple facets and segmentation of security issues and resolutions at various levels. And I would say that we, as part of this panel, we brought in a lot of good points here, very good insights. I thank you all for your valuable inputs. These are very, very valid and vital. And thank you for your active participation in this panel.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. It was a good discussion.
Thank you, Ranganath. Thank you all the.
Thank you, Ranganath. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you, Akib. Thank you, Dr. Kumar. Thank you, Murugavel. Thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. Any Q&A? Yeah, one question from my end. How do you handle such a great compliance challenge at operators level, Dr. Kumar?
See, I think compliances has to be, there's no option, right? To comply. These are the
Yeah.
things that to ensure needs to be complied. So I think when there's a compliance requirement, it has to be looked at, away from complying from all the perspective, and not just what we call it as workaround. So it
Yeah.
has to be really looked at from compliance perspective and needs to be uh, fulfilled from all the directions which has been given by any agencies or a government or any other corporate, rather than figuring out and work around. And because what happens is workarounds are all short terms, and later on it comes in the form of a attack or increased vectors, or it may come as a penalty. So the CISO has a choice whether they implement a workaround or they look at a compliance the way it is requested. And going by the the experiences which I have with an operators tend to kind of implement and deploy all those things, because if they don't do it, the penalties implemented by the agencies in India also it's huge, in other countries also it's quite huge, and they can't even afford to do that. So the all the regulations you have to implement it, and there shouldn't be any workaround around that, because otherwise we are kind of interfering with the national security or international security, and we are giving a way to terrorists to come into and even destroy us. So it has to be looked at end to end. It has to be looked at complete compliance as a citizen, that we must be putting our whole heart to fix it, rather than looking at the workaround and trying to say that yes, we have done it. It has to be taken very very seriously. And all the companies that I've been a member of, I've tried to ensure that my board of directors understand this, and they kind of give an approval on it, and they do get it. So it is the responsibility of the CISO to communicate to the board of directors or finance managers or the CFOs, and communicate properly the impact of not doing it, and what are the penalties that you will get into it if they don't do it. And most of the guys, I think, will understand and do it. Thank you so much for hosting this.
Thank you. Yeah.
Manish,
Yeah.
over to you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Rangnath, for scaling this session. My wholehearted thanks to Dr. Uttam, Mr. Murugavel, Mr. Akib. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your insights. I'm sure that it would be very useful.
Yeah.
And now I would make an announcement that we are now transitioning into the next session. So please stay tuned to the BPM 2022. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Manish. Yeah. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.